The woman they called the Queen of Deadpan stood beside the same man for 50 years. 50 years. Then one morning in Connecticut in April 2025, she lost him. What she said next in her very first interview since is waiting for you at number 1. But here's the thing, she is far from the only one on this list whose life will leave you speechless. One of them walked away from Hollywood entirely and did something no one saw coming. Before we count down, tell me honestly, who were you sitting next to on the couch when Kate and Allie first came on? Your mom, your best friend, someone who is no longer here. Drop their name in the comments below. I read every single one. Now, let's begin with a woman who was already a legend before this show even started. Her niece went on to become one of the biggest names in television comedy. I promise you will never guess who she is. Number 8. Susan St. James. Before she ever walked into that Greenwich Village apartment as Kate McArdle, Susan was already one of the most recognized women on television. Born Susan Jane Miller on August 14, 1946 in Los Angeles, she won an Emmy at just 22 years old. That was 1969 for her role as Peggy Maxwell on The Name of the Game. 2 years later came the role that made her a household name, Sally McMillan, the quick-witted, fearless wife of Rock Hudson in McMillan and Wife. For 5 seasons, she charmed the entire country. Then, in 1984, she brought that same warmth to Kate McArdle. And here is something most fans never knew. Susan and her co-star Jane Curtin had already worked together 4 years earlier in the 1980 comedy How to Beat the High Cost of Living. That chemistry you felt on Kate and Allie, it was real. And it started before the cameras ever rolled. The woman at number 1 knew Susan long before this show. But that story is coming. Now, how she met her husband is a story all on its own. Susan was hosting Saturday Night Live. That night, she met Dick Ebersol. He would go on to lead NBC Sports. 6 weeks after they met, they were married. 6 weeks. That was 1981. Kate and Allie filmed in New York. Susan once said that was everything to her. She never had to leave her family in Connecticut. When the show ended in 1989, Susan made a choice few in Hollywood ever make. She walked away. In her mid-40s, she simply stepped out of the spotlight. She raised her children, and she poured herself into the Special Olympics. She had supported that organization since 1972. In 2004, Susan's family faced a moment that changed everything. On November 28th, a chartered jet failed during takeoff in Montrose, Colorado. Her husband Dick and 2 of their sons, Charlie and Teddy, were on board. Teddy was 14 years old. He left us that morning. Charlie hurt himself, pulled his father from the wreckage to safety. Susan had stepped off that very same plane just hours before. Today, Susan St. James is 79 years old. She lives quietly in Connecticut. In 2008, she received her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Her son Charlie grew up to become a television producer. And now your trivia bomb. Susan's niece, that young woman who once guest starred right here on Kate and Allie, she grew up to be Krista Miller. You know her, Kate on The Drew Carey Show, Jordan on Scrubs, Ellie on Cougar Town. Television royalty runs deep in this family. Oh, and one more thing. In 1986, right in the middle of filming Kate and Allie, Susan sat ringside as a commentator at WrestleMania 2, right next to Vince McMahon. The range on this woman is something else. But up next, a child actress who walked onto a Broadway stage and straight into the hearts of millions. If you grew up in the 80s, you already know this song. You just don't know where she ended up. Number 7. Allison Smith. Carnegie Hall, the Kennedy Center, Radio City Music Hall, the White House. Most performers spend a lifetime chasing stages like those. Allison hit every single one of them before she was a teenager. It started at 9 years old. She stepped onto a Broadway stage in the original cast of Evita, right alongside Patti LuPone and Mandy Patinkin. Then at 10, she became the most famous orphan in America, the title role of Annie. She held that part for nearly 3 years and over 1,000 performances. At that time, she was the youngest person to star in a Broadway musical. Let that sink in. 10 years old, 1,000 shows, on Broadway. Then, in 1983, she walked into a sitcom and stayed. Jennie Lowell on Kate and Allie, all 6 seasons, all 122 episodes. After the show ended, Allison didn't slow down. She played Mallory O'Brien on all 7 seasons of The West Wing. In recent years, she and her husband, attorney Randy Grimmett, a vice president of ASCAP, purchased the Stoneover Inn in Lenox, Massachusetts, a beautiful boutique inn tucked away in the Berkshires. Today, Allison Smith is 56 years old. From Broadway to the Berkshires, not a bad journey at all. Now be honest with me. How many of you remember belting out Tomorrow in your bedroom after watching Allison as Annie? Maybe it was your daughter, maybe your little sister. Drop that memory in the comments. I promise you are not the only one. The next 3 had a combined total of just 9 episodes, but their lives after the show... unbelievable. 9 episodes combined. That is all the next 3 people needed to leave a mark on Kate and Allie. Their stories move fast, but every single one will surprise you. Number 6. Wendie Malick. She worked for a United States congressman. Then she became a fashion model in Manhattan and Paris. Then she became one of the funniest women on television. That is not different people. That is one career. After graduating from Ohio Wesleyan University in 1972, Wendie walked straight into the Wilhelmina modeling agency, New York, Paris. Then she went to Washington, D.C. and worked for Congressman Jack Kemp. She left politics for acting and reinvented herself completely. On Kate and Allie, she played Claire Lowell in just 5 episodes. 5. But watch what those 5 episodes set up. Judith Tupper-Stone on Dream On. 4 Cable Ace Awards. Nina Van Horn on Just Shoot Me. 2 Emmy nominations and a Golden Globe nomination. Victoria Chase on Hot in Cleveland alongside Betty White. Today, Wendie Malick is 75 years old, still going. In 2024, she was promoted to series regular on the Night Court Revival on NBC. She also voices Beatrice Horseman on BoJack Horseman and Edda Clawthorne on Disney's The Owl House. From a congressional office to 4 decades of comedy. Not a bad run. The man coming up next played 3 different people on Kate and Allie. 3. And one of those roles, it might have killed the show. Number 5. Sam Freed. Here is what nobody talks about. Sam and Jane Curtin knew each other long before Kate and Allie. In the early 1970s, both were members of The Proposition. That was an improvisational comedy troupe out of Cambridge. Neither was famous yet. 15 years later, they were playing husband and wife on national television. On the show, Sam did something truly unusual. He played 3 separate characters across different seasons. First, Jonathan Conti, then Keith in a backdoor pilot alongside Lindsay Wagner, and finally, Bob Barsky, the retired football player turned sportscaster who swept Allie off her feet. That on-screen romance led to a wedding in season 6. And many fans believe that wedding is exactly what ended the show. It is one of television's most cited examples of jumping the shark. After Kate and Allie, Sam played James C. Whiting III, the executive editor of the Baltimore Sun on season 5 of The Wire. He also played Bill Bueller, yes, Ferris's father. In the Ferris Bueller TV series, today Sam Freed is 77 years old. But the woman at number 1. Her story makes all of these look like a warm-up. First through the kids, and we start with the only boy in a house full of women. Number 4. Frederick Koehler. Here is something that surprises people. Kate and Allie was not his first job. A year earlier, at 8 years old, he played Michael Keaton's son, Alex, in the 1983 comedy Mr. Mom. Then he showed up on Kate and Allie. 9 years old, bright red hair, bowl cut. He played Chip Lowell for all 122 episodes. The lone boy in that Greenwich Village apartment. One kid surrounded by 2 moms, 2 sisters, and a whole lot of estrogen. By the time the show ended, his voice was cracking live on camera. After the series, Fred earned a theater degree from Carnegie Mellon University. And then came one of the most dramatic left turns in TV history. He played Andrew Schillinger, a violent inmate on HBO's prison drama, Oz. From little Chip Lowell to that, the range is extraordinary. Today, Frederick Koehler is 51 years old and still working steadily. He appeared in Stranger Things Season 5 in 2025. That little red-headed boy from Queens never stopped acting. But he was not the only child on that set who went on to do remarkable things. Coming up, a child star who walked away from Hollywood. What she does now will stop you cold. Before he was 10 years old, he had already lived in 4 different countries. Number 3. Dylan Walsh, Kenya, India, Pakistan, Indonesia. Most kids collect baseball cards. This kid collected passport stamps. His parents both worked for the United States Foreign Service. They met in Ethiopia, and their son, born Charles Hunter Walsh in Los Angeles, 1963, spent his childhood moving from country to country. His grandfather, Frank P. Haven, was a managing editor of the Los Angeles Times. Read that childhood again. It sounds like the first chapter of a spy novel. On Kate and Allie, Dylan appeared in just 4 episodes, 1987 to 89. A small guest role, easy to miss, easy to forget. Then came 2003, and this is the part that changes everything. Series creator Ryan Murphy walked into a coffee shop. Sitting there was Dylan Walsh. Murphy recognized him, not from Kate and Allie, from the film Nobody's Fool. They talked. Murphy wrote the role of Dr. Sean McNamara with Dylan in mind. 4 auditions later, the part was his. 6 seasons on Nip Tuck on FX. After that, Lieutenant Al Burns on Unforgettable. 4 seasons on CBS. And most recently, Sam Lane, Lois Lane's father, on Superman and Lois. Today, Dylan Walsh is 62 years old. 4 episodes on a sitcom, then leading man on 3 major series. All because someone recognized him in a coffee shop. We are almost at the woman I told you about at the very start. But first, one more story. And it might be the most unexpected one of all. She left the show a season early to attend one of the most prestigious universities in the world. Then she left Hollywood for good and chose a path no one saw coming. Number 2. Ari Meyers. Here is a 12-year-old girl, her very first film role, and she is playing Al Pacino's stepdaughter in the 1982 film Author, Author. By 15, she was Emma McArdle, 100 episodes, 5 seasons. Born in San Juan, Puerto Rico, to Jewish-American parents who were touring the island. Her mother, Taro Meyer, was an actress on the soap opera Another World, so acting was in her blood. The cameras found her early, and she made it look effortless. But after season 5, Ari made a choice that surprised everyone. She walked away from Kate and Allie. Not for another show, not for a movie deal. She enrolled at Yale University, graduated with honors in 1991, double major, philosophy and theater. And then something interesting happened. She kept going. Not toward the spotlight, away from it. In a 2021 Kate and Allie reunion posted on YouTube, Ari revealed what she does now. And I need you to sit with this for a second. She works as a postpartum nurse and lactation consultant at a hospital in Los Angeles, helping new mothers every single day. Think about that journey. A child star on set with Al Pacino, a Yale graduate with honors, and she chose to spend her days in a hospital ward, holding the hands of women in the most vulnerable hours of their lives. No red carpets, no audition tapes, just showing up every morning. She remains close friends with Allison Smith to this day, 2 child stars from the same show, still connected decades later. Today, Ari Meyers is 57 years old. And now, the moment you have been waiting for. She was one of the original cast members of Saturday Night Live. She won back-to-back Emmys for this very show. And what she has been through in the last year, I am not sure you are ready for it. Number 1 is next. Number 1. At the very start of this video, I told you about a woman who stood beside the same man for 50 years. I told you the Queen of Deadpan lost him, and I promised that what she said next was waiting right here. So here we are. This is Jane Curtin. Not a premiere, not a red carpet, a hockey game. That is where Jane met the love of her life. But we will get to that. Born Jane Therese Curtin on September 6, 1947 in Cambridge, Massachusetts. By 1975, she was standing inside Studio 8H as an original cast member of Saturday Night Live. For 5 years, she was the calm at the center of the storm. Weekend Update, the Coneheads, that stare. The whole country leaned in every time she opened her mouth. And then someone asked her to do a sitcom. She almost said no. No interest, none. Director Bob Barsky had to talk her into playing Allie Lowell. Thank God he did, because Jane Curtin went on to win back-to-back Emmy Awards. 1985, 1986. Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series. Both for this role, on this show. After Kate and Allie, she brought her SNL character to the big screen. Primat Conehead in the 1993 film Coneheads. Then, in 1996, came Third Rock from the Sun. She played Dr. Mary Albright alongside John Lithgow for 6 seasons. Yet another role America could not get enough of. Off-screen, she served as a UNICEF National Ambassador. In 2010, she won $250,000 on the Jeopardy! $1 Million Celebrity Invitational. Every cent went straight to UNICEF. But none of that is why she is number 1 on this list. Remember that hockey game? The early 1970s, Jane met a man named Patrick Lynch, not backstage at 30 Rock, not at some industry party, at a hockey game. They married in 1975. They raised their daughter Tess, who graduated from Brown University, and gave Jane 3 grandchildren. 50 years of standing beside each other. Let that land for a second. 50 years. Through every sketch, every season, every standing ovation, Patrick was there. On April 21, 2025, Patrick left us in Sharon, Connecticut. He was 79 years old. Not long after Jane sat down with Julia Louis-Dreyfus on the podcast Wiser Than Me. And what she said is the reason I made you this promise at the start. She talked about staying in motion, about the Pilates practice she has kept up for over 40 years, about what it means to keep going when the seat beside you is empty. She did not crumble. She kept moving. Today, Jane Curtin is 78 years old, a mother, a grandmother, a UNICEF ambassador, still the Queen of Deadpan, still here. One more thing before we go. And this one matters. Every single person on this countdown is still with us today. All 8. Let that sit for a second. But the full story of this show carries loss. Real loss. The kind that deserves more than silence. Teddy Ebersol, Susan St. James's youngest son. He left us on November 28, 2004. He was 14 years old. Patrick Lynch, Jane Curtin's husband of 50 years. He left us on April 21, 2025. He was 79. And Barry Youngfellow, Sam Freed's wife, beloved star of It's a Living. She left us on March 28, 2022. She was 75. They are part of this story. They always will be. And they are deeply missed. You know what Kate and Allie was really about? It was never about 2 women splitting rent on an apartment. It was about showing up every single day. for the person who needed you most. And that is exactly what I want you to do right now. Think about the person you used to watch this show with. Your mom, your sister, your college roommate, your neighbor down the hall who always knocked during the opening credits. If they are still a phone call away, do not wait. Pick up the phone tonight, not a text, a real call. Tell them you are thinking about them, or just send them this video. Let the memories do the talking. And if that person is no longer here, I see you. That ache you are feeling right now, that is love, and it does not fade. Tell me in the comments, which of these 8 stories stayed with you the longest today? And if you remember who you watched Kate and Allie with, share that name. I read every single comment, every one. Thank you for being here. Thank you for remembering.